Welcome back to the show. CD still waiting on his new deal. Stephen Jones has crunched the financial and target numbers for CD, and this is what he came up with. He's going to touch the ball a ton for what we're going to have to pay him. He better. I told Mike McCarthy, things can't change. He's got to be targeted 12 to 15 times a game. You got to hand it to him a couple more times. So I don't see that as changing in the least bit. He's our number one go-to guy. Okay, so I had Josh crunch the numbers here. This is organized from left to right in percentage of targets. Devontae had the most, but CD was right there under 30%. And when you look at targets per game, he's second, Josh, or third overall? Third overall, but second on this graphic to Tyreek. So, Nick, we'll start with you. Your reaction to Stephen Jones.
All right, this is just another what? You know what it reminded me of? His dad's quote about the running back Jonathan Brooks that they loved in the draft before they drafted him. This is an insane thing to say about a player before you sign the player. So, and first of all, let's just level set on this. 12 to 15 a game. So the all-time record for targets in a season.
Exactly, 205.
205. It was by Greg Jennings and by Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison. Yeah, I was going to say. So 17 times 12 is 204.
Correct.
So, and that's the low end. Yeah. 17 times 15 is...
I'm sorry, that's targets or touches?
Targets. Targets.
Okay.
Which is what they're
But
saying.
he's talking about handoffs, too.
No, he's saying 12 to 15 targets and some handoffs.
Oh, and handoffs.
Sorry. Add the handoffs. So my point is they're saying we want him to be the most targeted player in NFL history. And okay, fine, so be it. That actually is maybe the smart move for the Cowboys. But you don't say that during a negotiation. You don't say that because guess what? Then his agent's like, okay, so tell me again why he can't have as much money as Justin Jefferson, who the most targets he's ever had is 184, or he can't have as much money as Tyreek Hill, who is the most catches he's ever had, or targets he's ever had, pardon me,
for you.
180s. Like,
bad news in Minnesota.
So
First-round pick J.J. McCarthy will have to wait till the 2025 season to make his NFL debut. McCarthy underwent
negotiation and awful to say before you have the player signed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're legitimizing his holdout.
Yes.
You're basically telling the world, like, look, he's the best player we got.
He's the only thing we got.
And all we're thinking is, duh, that's why we're thinking you should have paid him a long time ago. And so for me, I went down the same road. I'm like, 200, let's go on the bottom end. That's only 3 players in the league history has had over 200 targets.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think people understand what Stephen Jones is saying is absolutely redunculous.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe that you would say that knowing this player that you're talking about already feels like I'm all the offense anyway. And what you're saying is we want you to be even more. Like,
But when has it ever been a good thing for the owner to get involved with strategy? Like, and give mandates to the coaching staff, like,
I knew
better
this
do
was
this.
the part you were going to
But it's just, and in this situation, when you do sign a guy to a big contract, there are all these expectations, and if anything, you want to take a little pressure off of him because CeeDee Lamb was very good the way that he was. That's why he's in line for this contract. So now you're going to add a bunch of pressure to him. You're going to add pressure to the quarterback, pressure to the coaching staff. You're going to force the ball in places you probably shouldn't force the ball. It just doesn't make any sense. And then what do you want value for money? Like, he already is giving you value for money. Now, outside of that, like, if it's going to get done, right? Looks like it's going to get done.
It's going to get done.
So why not go and get into a room? You're a decision maker. You don't have to talk to the owner. You're the owner. Go sit in a room and just knock this out. Why? What's the
Well, that's right. That's the part I don't.
Just get it done.
It doesn't make any sense.
Coach, CD's targets the last games of the regular season, 17, 10, 10, 10, 17, 13. He had 17 against Seattle. Then he had 17 when the garbage time against the Packers. So the question to you, because I know you usually have a story like in your back pocket. If the owner's son says, hey, I told the coach he's got to be targeted 12 to 15 times a game. If you're Mike McCarthy and let's say your playbook does, because he had the games where he's covered, targeted like 7 times, 6 times, a few times. Are you thinking at all in the back of your mind like, oh shoot, I forgot Stephen Jones said I got to give him the ball 12 times?
Well, defensively, if you're going to play him, you're obviously just double him because you're going to get 17 reps thrown into double coverage. So that's the first thing. You double him. And look, I've had an owner say to me, hey, I want you to throw the ball more. And it's like, okay, is this a mandate? Yeah, throw the ball more. So we get the ball picked off, goes for a touchdown early in the game. We're playing the 32nd ranked run defense in the league. And then calls me on Monday and said, why didn't you run the ball more? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is the discussion we had on Friday.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like, after it happens, like, oh, it was just a suggestion.
I like that.
No, you own the team. It's not a suggestion.
All right, Cowboys joint practice with the Rams. Cowboys defensive tackle Albert Huggins, who just signed with the Cowboys last week, launches a Rams staff member to the Rams' dismay. Now, the Rams staff member was acting as the quarterback in the drill, and he didn't have the proper jersey on. Just running out there. Huggins was thrown out of practice. Greg, we'll start with you. Is this a big deal or no big deal?
Yeah, man, this is absolutely egregious, disgusting.
Wow.
He should be out of practice. Like, you
Yeah,
can't. If this is a player that he did that to, it would be a little different because the player would then be in the uniform and all the things. This is like.
Seems like a kid.
He looks like a kid.
Yeah, so there's some reports that he was an intern.
His own coach kind of shoves him after this play. Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, there's just so much to dissect. He's fighting for a job already on the Cowboys. So he's not like a starter or anything. He's like low on the depth chart. And then you go and do this. You got the whole entire team now going to be upset at you. This is why I feel like you got to tell him you're not practicing no more today. Because if he's in a drill, coach, and you can speak to this as a defensive guy, like if he's in a drill, now all the offensive guys are clearly going to be targeting him. And so we talked about this yesterday about the fights and ownership getting paid or fined for fights. So it's we don't want that to happen.
I'm okay with fighting here. I'm okay with.
Oh, no question.
Coach, you're okay with fighting here?
In this situation, I am absolutely okay with
I
fighting.
agree with that.
And here's the other thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Here's the other
Get
thing.
Stafford in there.
I'd bring him in, and he would be cut. That's it. If you were this dumb to put someone who is filling in a drill to try to give you a look
to help you
and potentially hurt him, then you're too dumb to play for my team. So you got to go. You got to go.
So
it's not about fencing him for you got to go.
So I'm first of all so glad you said that, because what I was about to ask was, we've spent on and off the air a lot of time this past week talking about how much Coach hates training camp practice. But
training camp practices?
I'm sorry, training camp. So I misspoke. Thank you, Wild. Fights at training camp practices. And I thought the exact thing Greg thought, which is, man, those Rams players, it felt like they were handcuffed by the fact that these inter-squad practices, the team gets fined. They've clearly been talked about not fighting. I felt like that was a must-fight situation.
No question.
I felt like that was a situation where those Rams guys had to almost jump that guy. I know this sounds bad, but I was shocked at their lack of
what
response.
He did was deserving of whatever they decided to do.
When I first started in Cleveland a long, long time ago, I was that guy. I had to take snaps in practice during one-on-one drills. But I had to do it under center from Steve Everett, who just wore grays. I needed a medical glove is what I needed. So then there's not only the pressure of getting the snap, right? So you're getting the snap, you've got these 300-pound guys in front of you. You put the ball on the ground and one of those guys gets hurt, you're getting fired.
Yeah.
So it is miserable.